Okay, we're going to get started tonight. So I just want to thank all of our guests for joining us on this awesome event about supercharging your detox and really taking our Shred program to a whole new level. We have a very special guest speaker, a friend, a mentor of mine, Dr. Mitra Ray. I've known her for 16 years. And what I'm most excited about is Mitra is the one that developed the Shred program, and I'm just so grateful every day that this kind of landed on our lap years ago, and it's a tool in our toolkit to really keep our health on track, and it's something myself as a holistic nutritionist have been using for years as clients. I'm just going to let you know a little bit of background with Dr. Mitra Ray. Is that she's Stanford educated, and she's also an author of a couple best-selling books. One of my favorites is Do You Have the Guts to Be Beautiful? And in that book, I learned a lot of advanced techniques with detoxification. What I love about Mitra is she's so passionate about helping people understand the brain, the gut, the heart connection. And this woman is on a mission on mental health, improving mental health around the world, and empowering people just with the right education so that you really can be the best version of yourself. This event is put together by the Juice Plus community. Juice Plus is fruits, veg, and berry plant concentrates that have been in the marketplace for over 27 years, and you'll hear a little bit more about that later. But I am so excited because there's so many of you on tonight, and maybe even in the comment section, maybe you can just type if you have not been on a shred yet. Here you're going, what is a shred? And maybe you can just type that in the chat so that we know our audience of if the shred or the concept of the shred is new for you, just put new, just so we know how many new people are on. But we put this event together for people that want to know a little bit about the shred, but most of you probably do know about it, but how to up your game beyond that. So Mitra, I just want to thank you so much for joining us tonight. I know you've been bouncing around and traveling and doing lots of events and just helping so many people in this world shine their light when right now there's a lot of darkness, and you don't even worry about the darkness because there's so much light coming from you that you're just this like messenger of hope for so many people. So I do see that there are some people on here that it's new. They don't even know what Shred is. So I know she's going to give you a little intro and then really get you excited about why detoxification is important more than ever. So thank you, Dr. Mitra Ray.
Thanks, Nicole, for that kind introduction. I am on the road. You can see I'm in a hotel room today, and it's my pleasure to be here. And since there are some new people, I want to, first of all, maybe Nicole, you can type this in. There is a 20-minute video that I think is definitely worth watching. And you can get to it by going to info.shred10.com. And there's also another video on the microbiome, about gut health, and that's microbiome.shred10.com. So those are two videos that I recommend for further information, because I'm just going to right now give a nod to the guidelines and kind of quickly go over, because I really want to get to the more advanced stuff. But since there are some new people, I'm going to skip 1 and 2 for a second. I'll come back to guidelines 1 and 2, but I'm going to talk about drinking plenty of water. Why drinking plenty of water? You've heard that before. I'm sure everybody knows to drink more water, but you cannot expect the body to detoxify without water, especially if your focus is detoxification of environmental toxins, as well as shedding fat from the body. And I will talk about the difference between shredding fat versus burning fat. But you need water for the detoxification process to happen. And then also you need to make sure that you are trying to self-regulate your stress, because in today's world, we are being bombarded. We are not in our natural environment by any means. We're in artificial light most of the time. We don't get out in the sun often. We get up at weird hours. We work late hours. We're on our screen at crazy hours of the day. We interact with people on the screen. We eat processed foods. So, you know, all our self-regulation left to its own devices is completely off for most people, because you just get caught up in the modern world. You can write in the chat if this rings true for you, you know, or give me an emoji like, yes, this is very true. I understand that I need to self-regulate. And one of the easiest ways to self-regulate is to first notice that you're feeling stressed. And it's as quick as taking 10 deep breaths. Because as soon as you start taking 10 deep breaths, you start to calm down the part of the autonomic nervous system that has you all stressed out. So the autonomic nervous system is basically regulating your body. It's like the brain is sending information down. And if you're stressed, it's one thing to talk, like, let's talk about why zebras don't get ulcers. That is the title of a book of one of my first mentors in the arena of stress, Dr. Robert Sapolsky. He was a first-year professor at Stanford when I was a first-year student, really cool dude. And he wrote this incredible book. And one of the things he talks about why zebras don't get ulcers is because, let's say a zebra were to be chased by a lion, he's going to get all stressed out and run like mad. And there's only two outcomes out of that. Either he's going to become lunch or he's going to get away. If he does get away, then the zebra does something very unique that we don't do, which is he shakes it off. He shakes off that stress of being chased by a lion. And then that resets the body. So using our diaphragm is one of these easy ways to send a signal to our brain that everything's okay. So diaphragmatic breathing, if you think of your diaphragm as this umbrella-shaped muscle, and if you can belly breathe, that is breathe air into your belly, think about the diaphragm being pushing down onto your belly as your lungs, because it sits under the lungs. It's like an umbrella, but it's kind of like flattening that umbrella as you breathe in. And then as you exhale, it kind of relaxes again into this umbrella shape. And so that 10 deep belly breaths actually is as good as like the zebra shaking it off. You can also shake it off. I mean, if you feel like just shaking it off, you can do that too. Just a state change, but breathing, using our diaphragm purposefully instead of like the autonomic like way of just unconsciously breathing, there's a big difference. And also sleep, really focusing on, are you getting enough sleep? Because if you're not getting enough sleep, then your body cannot detox, because most of the detoxification happens at night. So you have to come up with rituals for making sure you get sleep. And one of them is not eating late. And the other is like really understanding how your body reacts to caffeine. Some people are more sensitive than others. They have more receptors for caffeine than others. So you really, if caffeine isn't working for you, you cannot expect your body to self-regulate without sleep and without being able to breathe diaphragmatically. Exercise is a wonderful way to also regulate, you know, your serotonin levels, your dopamine levels, all that, the endorphins that you need to be happy, as well as, of course, everybody, I don't want to go into, everybody knows the importance of exercising. So the guidelines include that. Now, one of the reasons, I'm going to go back to Juice Plus capsules and shakes, because if you consume the 3 blends of Juice Plus capsules, the fruits, the veggies, the berries, and the omegas, and then do the shakes, you are now putting in 50 plants. 50 plants gives you so many different phytochemicals that empower the liver and every cell in your body to get rid of toxins, as long as you've got a lot of water with it too. So what happens at night is that you are able to eliminate these toxins. And you know, if you find yourself peeing at night, you have to understand that's actually a good thing. You want to make sure you don't want to turn on any bright lights to get up to go pee. You just have a small little night light and just tell yourself, I'm just going to pee and go back to bed. But a lot of people get upset if they pee at night. I'm like, if you're peeing at night, that's a good thing. That's your body getting rid of toxins. So understand what your body is doing. And then caffeine and alcohol, For the shred, for 10 days a month, we say completely eliminate caffeine and alcohol. Even though if you like coffee, you can taper down. We have guidelines for tapering it down. So make sure you taper down so you don't get headaches. Ask the person who invited you for resources on how to taper down. Not eating after 6. This is something I'm going to get into a little bit more when I get into the more advanced stuff. But if you eat late at night, then your body cannot detox. It's as simple as that. A lot of people are doing intermittent fasting. Intermittent fasting works because up till the recent craze with intermittent fasting, people were really just trying to watch calories and exercise. That is, burning calories and reducing calories were the only way to lose weight. But you can also shed body fat by not eating late at night and eating lots and lots of plants. Now, I don't know anybody that's eating 50 different plants, and the Juice Plus products really allow your body to have this incredible catalyst. The reason, like a lot of nutritionists write a lot of programs, but they get a little bit like, like, oh, I don't believe in vitamins. Well, I don't believe in isolated vitamins either. I don't believe in any supplementation. Well, I don't believe in, cutting off your nose to spite your face. I was not a capsule taker at all. I did not like taking any medicines or vitamins or anything like that. But when I saw Juice Plus, which is literally whole food, like the whole food, like the whole orange, the skin and all, they're throwing the whole thing in there. So you're getting so much fiber and so many nutrients that you don't normally eat. It's impossible to eat what is in the Juice Plus products because we're not eating the rind of oranges. We're not eating the core of the pineapple. We're not eating the leaves of the carrots, where there's so much more nutrition. So this allows you this like whole plethora of phytonutrients that really go to work to make it's like my secret weapon to make. That's why the shred works. Because if I gave you all the guidelines without the Juice Plus products, it would take you years and you'd probably give up before you got results. But with the Juice Plus products, you're going to get results faster because you're giving your body all these catalysts. And that's why it works so well. You have to eliminate processed foods. You have to eliminate gluten and dairy. Gluten causes gut permeability, which is like it creates leaky gut. Gluten it's not, some people are more sensitive than others, but we're all sensitive. As far as if you eat gluten, and the things that have gluten are wheat, rye, and barley. So you want to avoid wheat, rye, and barley, basically. And also some processed foods that say, like, just avoid processed foods because a lot of them have gluten added for flavor or texture and all kinds of things. And artificial and refined sugars, those diet Cokes are actually worse than regular Coke, which I also don't recommend. So those are the guidelines to follow. Now I want to kind of get into some again, that was just a nod to it because there's a lot to the Shred program. And there's also a Shred guide and support groups for you. So you can get a lot of support. And if you are the kind of person that needs to understand why it works, we have all those resources. If you just want to dive in and see what happens for you, you can also go that route. Now I'm looking for, okay, so what I want to talk about is sort of some advanced ways, and this is where my book comes in. And I'm going to just kind of share with you, let's see, on Amazon. It's available on Amazon, both in Canada and in the US. And also if you want the MP3, that's available on my drmitraray.com site if you want just the MP3 version of it. But if you want the book, the reason you might want the book is because Nicole asked me to share, Shred Plus, if you will, which is the advantage of using enemas. Now, I want to tell you something. I was totally against doing enemas. I just thought, oh my God, I'm never going to do an enema. But there were so many people, like I became yoga certified and then some. I did a lot of different yoga certifications, and almost every yoga teacher told me to do enemas. And I was like, I'm not doing it. I'm not doing it. And then I went to True North, which is a place that you can go to do water fasting, juice fasting, all kinds of different cleanses. And I met a woman there, Dr. Daniels, who I co-authored the book with, and she finally convinced me about enemas. And I think the men will appreciate this. It's kind of like we have a plumbing problem from eating too many animal products and processed foods. We are not lions and tigers. We don't have the stomach acidity to break down animal meat, fish, eggs, cheese, that kind of stuff. We just don't have the acidity of a lion or a tiger. So what happens is over time, these foods get stuck in our intestines, in the nooks and crannies of our intestines. And then it starts to really create a problem because you just have bacteria and parasites and worms and all kinds of nasty things that start to live in your intestines that just don't belong there. And then on top of that, you eat processed food, which feeds the cancer, and you can get colon cancer that way, or you can block little passages and like people need their gallbladders removed, or they have appendicitis, or, you know, and all these things are really rooted in food that is stuck in 23 feet of tubing, okay? So what happens with an enema, the gentle enema that I describe in the book is just warm water, a little bit of, you know, warm water enema, is that every time you do an enema, you kind of vacuum suction out all this food that's stuck in the intestines. And so I actually did 30 days worth of enemas just to pull out a lifetime's worth of stuck food. And I cannot tell you what started to come out after a while. There were some if you start to look in, you know, the toilet, some very interesting things start to come out into the toilet. Now, you know, somebody came on with the thing about poop. So I'm just saying this is really, really advanced stuff for some people. For some people, it's just like no big deal. But you know, maybe the first time you do an enema, you might be like clumsy and not know exactly what you're doing. But in my book, I do describe a very simple process. And the reality is once you do it 2 or 3 times, you start to feel better. It's like literally a mood enhancer. And if you're catching a sniffle with my kids, I even taught my young girls how to do, when they were young, they're adults now. Like, you know, I remember telling Larry Barnes, like, look, it's like a plumbing problem. You just got to, and you know, he was really against doing it. And then now he's writing the enema is the most comforting thing you've ever done. It actually feels really good. And so now I've kind of become hooked on enemas. If I don't feel good, or if I feel like I'm coming down with a cold, or if I went to a restaurant and I ate stuff that I don't think is sitting right with me, anytime I don't feel 100%, or if I'm traveling and there's been a lot of greasy food that just kind of, you know, I try my best to avoid that kind of stuff, but sometimes it just happens. And there's the enema bag. That's where you reach for the enema bag. You can do it with distilled water for 30 days if you want to really do a real, you know, cleanse. But even in a hotel room, if you just use warm water out of the tap, it'll still be helpful. So that was one thing I wanted to kind of put out there for you to try. You can just buy a very simple enema bag. It kind of looks like a hot water bottle, a hot water bag, like the rubber old-fashioned hot water bags with the tube. You don't want to buy an enema kit. You just need water. People ask me about coffee enemas and stuff. It's like, if you want to do that, you can, but coffee enemas can kind of make you unnecessarily, some people react to coffee enemas differently than others. All I want to say is it's not necessary. And if you want to do a colonic, that's great too, but some people can do too many colonics, whereas an enema is gentle and safe even for little kids. And that's what, like when you get into other stuff like coffee enemas and colonics and stuff, you need a professional. You need to know what you're doing. You need to not overdo it. You might lose too much microbiome, you know, good microbiome if you do too many colonics. So I don't want to go down that path tonight. All I want to say is that the enemas that I describe in my book are very, very doable. And really, you can't really hurt yourself doing the enemas as I described them in my book with just warm water. And again, distilled water will pull more stuff out, but you might want to just increase maybe your sea salt intake or take some minerals supplements, which is usually just dissolved sea salt, to be honest with you, to make sure that, because distilled water will also pull out minerals from the body. So you want to make sure you get some minerals back. And you can do that very easily with sea salt. Let's see. Then the second thing I wanted to talk about is the glycogen tweak. So you don't want to eat after 6, and the reason is, or sunset. And that is because your body cannot detox. When you eat, every time you eat, you get an insulin spike. And I have a little phrase, which is when insulin is in the way, growth hormone cannot come out to play. So at night is when you're doing a lot of repair and stuff like that. So you need to have your insulin levels completely drop. Number one reason. Number two is that you really have to get into a little bit of I don't want to use the word starvation, but kind of really almost drop your sugar levels just a little bit for the body to get into that cleansing mode. Okay, the body can either digest food or it can cleanse. And if you, for 10 days, even if you're a little bit calorically deprived, that can actually help the detoxification process. In fact, like reducing calories, but eating highly nutrient dense food like the Juice Plus, Juice Plus is giving you so many nutrients, like the capsules don't even have any calories and the shakes have only 110 calories or something like that. So what happens is that it slows down the aging process. This has been proven for so many years that if you can maximize nutrition and minimize calories, you're going to slow down the aging process. Why? Because the body doesn't have to work so hard to digest food. There's more nutrition coming from real fruits and vegetables. And that allows the body to also use the nutrients in the fruits and vegetables to get rid of the environmental toxins that we're exposed to on a daily basis. Like, how many of you know that we are living in a more and more polluted world every day, right? And we need to actively do something every day. And Juice Plus is a daily detox anyway. Like, you can do fancy intermittent fasting, but the intermittent fasting I had woven into the Shred 10 long time ago, long before all the popularity of intermittent fasting. Because if you stop eating at like ideally, I mean, if you really want to push it, you want to just eat between 10 a.m. and 4 p.m. That's like advanced shred, is to eat between 10 a.m. and 4 p.m. when your digestion is strongest. It takes 3 days to adjust to that level of a commitment, but with all these changes I'm talking about, give your body 3 days. The first 3 days can suck. I'm just going to be honest with you, because the parasites kind of get angry and they start to tell you, you need to eat that food because that's what you've been feeding me. Like, they literally control your brain. They send neurotransmitters from the gut to your brain, making you say, no, this isn't working for me. I better eat that food that I've been eating. That's what I'm used to, blah, blah, blah. Because you have to starve out the parasites long enough and feed the good guys all that nutrition from Juice Plus, as well as many real whole food plants as you can eat and follow the recipes that we provide. Then that will help you. After 3 days, you're going to start to feel a lot better, because now you've starved. You have to think about the fastest way to do this is to starve out those suckers I don't eat animal products anymore anyway, because once I started to see all the things that came out in the toilet, I didn't want to house those things ever again. But you don't have to be as crazy as me. But if you do give up animal products and processed foods for 10 days, that will be another version of an advanced shred, because that means you will, that's 10 days is long enough to starve out a majority of the parasites that come from animal products. And then the processed food is also feeding cancer. Remember that. So that, and also messing with your cholesterol levels and all kinds of processed food is the #1 reason people have high cholesterol. Okay, then I want to talk about the glycogen tweak. The glycogen tweak is, I know in the beginning, it's hard to sleep through the night when you're kind of going through a little bit of starvation. So having said don't eat after 6, I want to say that if you're really having trouble, you can have a small piece of fruit or just a shake with half a scoop of shake instead of a full scoop, because glycogen is sugar molecules that are stored in your liver. So your brain like takes up basically 75% of the calories. Like you could just sit in a room and think and burn 75% of your, the nutrients and calories you're taking in just by thinking alone. Okay. So just thinking and all that stuff takes a lot of calories. So the brain always wants to know that there's plenty of sugar stored in the form of glycogen, which is just a chain of sugars in your liver. If your glycogen levels drop too low, the brain goes, I am not happy. I'm hungry. Get up and eat. So the glycogen tweak means you can have a teeny tangerine or half an apple or half a banana, maybe a small banana, or just a small piece of fruit that's very easy to digest and not too many calories, or half a scoop of complete, just shaken up with like water or coconut water, not too many calories, just to kind of give your body enough glycogen, not too much to get an insulin spike, but just enough so the brain goes, I can sleep. There's just enough glycogen for me to get through the night. So that glycogen tweak is something you can play with if you're having trouble sleeping. But that doesn't mean that's permission to eat a big, heavy meal. So as I said, a small piece of fruit, not even a full apple, unless it's one of those little mini apples or mini oranges, mini tangerines or something, just a teeny tiny little bit of something will help. So that's my little advanced shred guidelines that I wanted to share. Nicole, I didn't know if you had anything else that was on top of mind for me to share.
Oh, that's awesome. And maybe just touch base on how about like anything to do with the lymphatic system? Because right now I'm doing my advanced is how about the trampoline?
Oh yes, I love the trampoline. As like, there's it's really important for us to get some cardiovascular activity every day, because just gets your metabolism up and running and gives you a good healthy appetite and it stabilizes hormones. It does so many things, right? I love the trampoline because jumping up and down on the trampoline is gentle on your joints, and yet it is the fastest way to move your lymphatic fluid. Exercise itself is great because breathing heavy, that diaphragmatic breathing and moving your limbs, it's the only way you're going to really move. Like our circulatory system has a pump called a heart, but our lymphatic system doesn't have a pump. It's very similar. It runs parallel to it's just as complicated as all our arteries and veins. The lymphatic system is in charge of just getting rid of junk in the body, right? And it doesn't have a pump, so it requires exercise. The trampoline is unbelievable in how, like a lot of people, you think too linearly about exercise. Look, I have to, exercise. Like if you follow all those apps and stuff about how many calories you're burning, it's not just about how many calories you're burning, it's about how you're moving your body. When you jump up and down on a trampoline, your lymphatic system is really going and you're not hurting your joints. And that allows you, again, to shed fat instead of burn fat, okay? And shedding fat requires water, because what happens is all the toxins are wrapped in fat, basically, and because most of the toxins are fat soluble, and it requires what's called biotransformation that is catalyzed by plant nutrients, lots and lots of plant nutrients you need to turn those fat soluble toxins into something that you can pee out. So you pee out the toxins, but the fat just goes along for the ride and you poop out the fat. Okay. So that's shedding fat. That's not burning fat. It's easier. That's why I love the shred. You can shed fat instead of trying to burn fat all the time. Well, when you're on the trampoline, you're both burning fat and shedding fat at the same time because you're moving your lymphatic tissue around, if that makes sense.
Yeah, thank you for that. That was the one thing I'm doing right now, the advanced detox, like what you're talking about. And this is what kind of inspired me. And I was like, I want more people to know about this because it's so important. I've just been blessed to be able to read the books and have your book years ago and be able to do this. And it's been a long time, Mitra, since I've done an advanced, but let me tell you guys, I feel so amazing. And the one thing that I'm going to say is good, but it also sucks at the same time, is my body is getting up, in my opinion, way too early. So I'm used to going to bed at, like, let's say 10 o'clock, maybe 11 o'clock, and getting up at 7. Well, like 4 a.m. comes around and I'm like ready to like have a party. And I'm like, okay, this is not fair. And I'm not in the mood to write a book.
Yeah, you got that is creative time though. I mean, really, like that's what happens. We realize we sleep too much because the body's so lethargic from just trying to manage all the toxicity and all the stress and all of that. But when you start to cleanse, you need less sleep. You just need less sleep. So part of that is just, you know, your body just saying, I don't need that much sleep. I'm ready to go. Let's go. You know, so yeah, maybe you should write a book, another book. I know you've written a great book, but maybe it's time to write another book.
Exactly. So I'm just going to summarize what Mitra said. So I do know that there are a lot of you here that had expressed that you have never done the shred before. So my advice is take on the shred, follow up with the person who's invited you onto the call to learn when our next community shred happens. We have many different groups available for daily support and hand holding and lots of available tools so that you will succeed. So that would be my first advice, is just get on the program, get on the shred, order your products, and tap into our amazing community that will hold your hand and help you be accountable for your own health. So that's the first. Now, for those of you that you're like, oh, I've been doing shred for years, or maybe you've done it for a while, this is what is a good reminder for you guys. So what did she say? Check out Self Animas. Okay, that's a big one. Moving your body, right? Getting that trampoline, that 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. So that's a 6-hour window. That's like really advanced stuff. Or if you can't do that, at least get to that sunset point. So like around 6 o'clock at night. If you do need that glycogen tweak, she said just a small piece of fruit at night. And yeah, and try it, like just try it and see what happens to your health, because I think we need health more than ever in this world. And I love that, you know, Dr. Mitra Ray has kind of figured this out. And, you know, one of the things I love about Dr. Mitra Ray is she keeps on learning and she keeps on researching and she keeps on sharing, you know, what is best for our health. So on that note, I just want to say thank you everyone for tuning in. Dr. Mitra Ray, thank you again for your time, sharing your love and wisdom, inspiring so many. And I can't wait to hear how awesome you guys feel over the next month as you start to tweak and add these advanced detox principles. And all the love is coming through. Yep, drinking chlorophyll, you betcha. Lots of information there, lots of thank yous, thank yous. Awesome, good
Cool.
stuff. Everyone,
Great.
you guys have a great night, and thanks for tuning in.
Bye.
Bye-bye.